Amy, let me tell you about a magical place that is so exactly designed to be enclosed space, year-round fun for the whole family that I bet you already know what I'm going to say before I even say the name. Let's say it together on 3. 1, 2, 3. Great Wolf Lodge. You got it, Amy.
My kids loved Great Wolf Lodge when we went. You probably already know that it has a huge indoor water park with a wave pool, lazy river, a bunch of massive water slides. But then your pack can hit the other attractions because, wait, there's more.
Great Wolf Lodge has adventure-packed attractions like Magi Quest, a live-action game kids can play throughout the lodge, plus the Northern Lights Arcade. Spent some quality time there, so your kid who loves the lazy river and your kid who loves fantasy games will both have a great time.
Great Wolf Lodge also offers great dining options and complimentary daily events like nightly dance parties, all under one roof. Unpack the car once and you're settled in to have fun. And with 22 lodges across the country, you're always a short drive away from adventure.
We've both had such great times at Great Wolf Lodge, so bring your pack together at a lodge near you. Learn more at greatwolf.com and strengthen the pack.
The more informed you are, the more nervous you'll feel. What fresh hell?
Laughing in the face of motherhood. Your goal is not to eliminate anxiety. With Margaret Abels
and Amy Wilson. You want to know who doesn't have anxiety? Psychopaths.
A podcast that solves today's parenting dilemmas
so you don't have to. I am so anxious and there's so much to do that the only thing I can do is sit on the couch and watch Real Housewives recaps.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to What Fresh Hell, Laughing in the Face of Motherhood. This is Amy.
And this is Margaret. And today we're going to wonder aloud, what type of anxious are you? And what type of anxious am I?
There used to be a song.
What flavor?
What kind of cat are you? Do you remember who? It was a child.
You
What
pull
kind
out
of cat
the
are you?
strangest
What kind of cat
songs.
are you? Tell me true. His first name was Billy. Somebody's yelling at their car right now, their Apple CarPlay. Great song. What kind of cat hangs out in between buildings? An alley cat. It was like that.
Was it from Cats? No.
No. It was a children's
also
album.
Jellicle Cats.
Right,
Anyway, we're
right.
wandering far astray already, Amy, and I know you have a mailbag for us.
I do. I have a mailbag. We got to get to this.
Oh, yes. Wait a minute. Time for mailbag. Wait. Check the mailbag.
This is Bethany in our What Fresh Hell podcast group on Facebook, which you can always join just by searching What Fresh Hell on Facebook. Bethany says, What Fresh Hell is changing the sheets on bunk beds. And I just thought, I don't know if I can get an episode out of that, but I am feeling very, I can't believe that we haven't done an episode on this before now or considered this, because this really is the worst thing ever.
Bethany, I'm going to see you and raise you in my dad's house. Bunk beds, and there's a ceiling fan right in between the bunk beds, so you could get nailed in the head by a rotating fan while changing. And then if you get your butt up in the air to try to get that corner on, then the ceiling fan, takes a piece of your butt off. It's really not good.
This is why bunk beds are only for kids, because we have bunk beds and it's like, the cousins are fine. They don't need the sheets changed.
I mean, we're not here to solve it, but the only way to do it is get the cheapest possible mattress. So you could just pull the whole mattress off and stand it up next to you and just make the bed and then fling it back up there. That's the only way I've found to succeed.
Yeah.
If you have actually good mattresses, it can't be fixed. It can't be done.
Anyway, thanks, Bethany.
Amy, lay this quote on you. It's from Unknown, which is good because otherwise I might have to go and find this person and give them a piece of my mind. A mother's love is endless, her worries ceaseless.
I have 10 problems with this quote because I think this becomes that's it. That's how you prove your love, by worrying all the time. And the more you worry, the more you love. And it's the mother's job to do all of this stuff and not other people's.
Agree. But I will say that having children, I would say I was a mildly anxious person, like a fairly anxious person. Anxiety runs in my family. I come from an anxious family, but having kids was like opening a door on a submarine. Like it let in an amount of anxiety that I did not know was possible. And it has faded over time, but we've never, it's like they say when they raise prices, because of COVID or whatever, it's like if a 2x4 cost $5 before COVID and $10 after COVID, after COVID, it's going to cost $7.50. That's how I feel about my anxiety. It was at $5, and then when I had little newborns, it went to like $500, and then it kind of settled in around $200. It's not like it came back to its previous state.
Well, I get that, but it's not ceaseless, right? This person is like, all you'll be doing is worrying and it's going to be terrible forever, and that it has to be that way. That if it is that way, it shouldn't be that way. If your worries really are ceaseless, there's things you can do about it. It isn't, oh, well, that's just motherhood, I guess is what I'm saying here.
Yeah, exactly.
It can come back down to earth, and not always by the power of your willpower and doing more yoga either. But this isn't how it is now. There are things you can do about these kinds of anxiety and worry, even if they do totally come with the territory.
I think that's very true. And I did not realize until many years later that I actually had postpartum anxiety, which is a diagnosable thing. I had my first baby 16 years ago now. And at the time I was screened for and realized I did not have postpartum depression. So I thought, I got no problems. I must be fine.
Right.
Looking back, I realized that I had an actual condition called postpartum anxiety that I did not know was a thing at the time.
Okay. Well, let's talk about how you know it's a thing. It's a diagnosable condition that was maybe missed, or do you think that it's more understood now than it was 15, 20 years ago?
Well, we can talk about some guidelines. So, listen, everybody has anxiety. If you didn't have anxiety, you'd walk into traffic. Like, anxiety is a useful tool. I'm going to quote my mom for the 100th time: the anxious bunny survives. Anxiety is a survival tool. You have to have it.
I found out
it is
that
not to be solved.
You want to know who doesn't have anxiety? Psychopaths. You can be in an anxious situation and if you're Dexter, your blood pressure doesn't go up. Everybody else has a baby and gets more anxious.
That's the famous thing about Hannibal Lecter, which is, I hate to say it, a huge Goldilocks alert now. Back in my day. But Silence of the Lambs, which is a book and a movie.
But people are talking about him these days. Hannibal Lecter.
He's back again. But that was his whole thing. He committed some horrendous crime, and they're like, and his blood pressure never went, or his heartbeat never went above 70. Right.
So that's not the goal.
Your goal is not to eliminate anxiety. Anxiety disorder, which is what I believe I was suffering from, although I'm diagnosing myself, but I think that's probably right, goes beyond regular nervousness and slight fear you may feel from time to time. An anxiety disorder, which, by the way, women are twice as likely than men to suffer from, it, number one, interferes with your ability to function. Correct. I was having trouble sleeping. I was basically at a resting heart rate of being chased by a bear all day, every day. I mean, I was panicked nervous all day, every day. That's not normal. And your reactions are often out of proportion to situations. So you're overreacting, right? Like, this toy on the floor, someone could trip and break their neck on it, as opposed to like, okay, let's get this out of the way. It could be a tripping hazard, and you can't control your responses to situations. This became a big thing for me when I was struggling so badly with anxiety that at some point, somebody randomly was talking about something horrible, and I became obsessed with, I can't hear anything bad because it will set me off. So my reaction was really out of proportion to the situation. And I became almost paranoid to be around people for fear that they would say her baby had 104 fever. It turned out to be meningitis, that would set me off for 3 weeks of just perseverating on that. And so that's the kind of anxiety we're talking about. And it's also worth talking about regular anxiety that happens in people's lives, because anxiety can get in the way. Everything's a spectrum, right? So you don't have to be completely crippled and paralyzed and not being able to leave your house for anxiety to be a problem for you.
That's just it. This makes me think of, there's a book called Quit Like a Woman by Holly Whitaker, and it's about alcohol addiction. It's not about anxiety, but she makes just the same point that a lot of people are like, well, I'm not living in a gutter without friends or family or a job, having lost everything I have, so I'm fine.
Right.
Like, you're
so
either
therefore I'm not a
an
real
alcoholic
alcoholic
or you're fine. Right. As if issues with drinking don't exist on a spectrum. So the same thing here. You're like, well, I'm actually perseverating on something for 4 days, but I'm not this, so therefore I'm fine. Probably put off getting support. What was it that helped you finally say like, okay, I need to address this?
Oh, like a good Irish Catholic girl, I gritted my teeth, kept going through life, and then looked back 10 years later and I was like, wow, that was not a good time at all.
It just kind of wore off. Yeah.
I also have OCD. So I have obsessive compulsive disorder, which I've had since I was a little kid. I can remember one of my cousins being like, can I tell you something crazy? I only do something in threes or whatever it was. And I was like, oh, I do that too. Everybody does that. And we were sort of like, oh, okay, this is completely normal. Everybody's doing it. And it wasn't probably until I was in college that it occurred to me that not everybody drinks in a series of 4 sips to do what? I'm not exactly sure, but
you weren't going to find out what happened if you didn't.
Everybody does do that, right? Like people don't walk under ladders and they don't.
I knock on wood. I really do.
You know, there's an expression stimming in autism and everybody stims. It's self-stimulation, basically. So in autism, it can involve rocking or spinning in circles, or on another end of the spectrum, self-injurious, hitting your head, other actions. But humming to yourself while you walk is a stim. Flicking your pencil while you think is a stim. Everybody does all of these things.
Yeah. I play with a hair tie sometimes while I'm recording.
Yeah.
That's because I don't know. I like to. I never really thought about why, but you're right. That is a form of self-stimulation.
So I think it's really worth starting out to say everybody has an operating system and mine involves touching the wall in very specific ways. So that what? I don't exactly know, but it's just a part of the way that I operate in the world. And going to therapy has helped me see, and I will introduce this term early, that my therapist focuses very much on harm reduction and morally neutral behaviors. So harm reduction means that rather than being like, you have to, I'll give it a very extreme example. You're taking heroin, it's ruining your life. One approach is to be like, if you don't stop taking heroin, your life will continue to be ruined. But there are people who struggle to just quit heroin. So methadone is a harm reduction intervention. So it says, we're going to have you take methadone instead of heroin because it causes the harm in your life to be much less. And similarly with my OCD, the harm reduction is, I don't believe I will ever be a person who functions completely free of OCD. But in working on it with a therapist, I work on harm reduction. So if I'm late for our recording session because I have to run back to the door and touch things 65 times, like that's causing actual harm. But if it soothes me to like run my hand against the wall as I walk by, what is that hurting? You know, and really sort of trying to break down where is anxiety causing harm in your life and attack it on those fronts first, rather than trying to start from a place of, if I don't eliminate anxiety entirely, I'm a failure.
You know, I am very much team mom, but as Lynn Lyons would say, anxiety is a family disorder, and part of the harm reduction around being an anxious parent is to reduce the effects that being raised in a super anxious household by a super anxious parent has on a kid. I mean, it does have effects. It creates anxiety.
It absolutely does. My OCD got much worse after having kids. And I think that I felt very strongly that, like, if my kids ever see me doing this, they're going to realize I'm crazy and therefore I will ruin their lives. And that is not a helpful starting place for the story of what's going on with me and being anxious. You've spent a lot of time with me. I'm not visibly a person with OCD. I'm not going through the world touching a million things and stuff. But my therapist also helped me see that it's okay also for your kids to see that you have this thing and to talk to them about it and to say, yeah, it's odd. The way my anxiety manifests is that it calms me down to do certain rituals. And even though it doesn't make a lot of sense, it is the way my body copes with anxiety. Versus, and I will say this literally never occurred to me before talking to a therapist, versus this is something extremely shameful that must be hidden from everybody so that nobody thinks I'm crazy.
I have a question about that, a follow-up question. So just like you would not tell somebody who has autism to stop stimming, to stop spinning in a circle if that deeply relaxes them, or somebody with ADHD that they should stand still instead of fidgeting while you talk to them, because if they do that, it'll make their ADHD worse because they're attending to standing still instead of what you're saying. I imagine that touching the wall might be preferable to feeling the anxiety that comes from not touching the wall.
Yes, I am going to answer that question after this break, Amy.
Hellions, it's time for some spring cleaning, and I don't just mean the coat closets. Doing your financial spring cleaning can actually be super easy when you let Monarch do your financial spring cleaning for you. One dashboard that gets your entire financial life organized. No more clutter, no more mess, no more logins scattered everywhere, just accounts, investments, property, and more, all in one place. Get your first year of Monarch for half off, just $50 with promo code FRESH. Monarch allows you to look not only at what you've already spent, but also to plan for the future. With Monarch, you can set savings goals, plan for big purchases, and notice spending trends before they become a problem.
I can generate cash flow reports that show me what we spent this quarter, this month, what we're probably going to spend next month, and feel prepared, organized, and knowing how to plan for the future.
No more surprises and a lot more clarity. Try Monarch. Use code FRESH at monarch.com to get your first year half off at just $50. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code FRESH.
At DSW, we ask the important questions, like, what shoes are you going to wear? Whether you're prepping for wedding season, festival season, or just planning the ultimate vacay, the right shoes can make or break an RSVP. So own the moment. You've got big plans, and we've got just the shoes. At the perfect price, of course. Get ready to get ready with Designer Shoe Warehouse. Head to your DSW store or dsw.com today and let us surprise you.
My favorite skincare products actually feel more like self-care, like they're so nice to put on and they smell so good that I'm actually happy when I get to that part of my day. And I swear that is how I feel about Osea's anti-aging body balm.
Amy, you are usually the lotions and potions queen on this podcast, but I have to say, hard agree.
Osea's anti-aging body balm is a liquid silk body balm that combines the lasting hydration of a lotion with the firming power of a serum, leaving skin smoother and firmer.
This body balm is clinically tested and designed to deliver visible results you can see and feel.
So we've gotten to use this product for a couple of months now, and I swear I have really noticed firmer and smoother skin, like on the back of my hands. It's like getting a mini spa treatment from head to toe.
Get a spring-worthy glow with clean, clinically tested skincare from Osea. And right now, we have a special discount just for our listeners.
Get 10% off your first order site-wide with code FRESH at OseaMalibu.com.
That's 10% off your first order with code FRESH at OSEAMalibu.com. So in terms of dealing with behaviors, it is like you say, put a piece of paper in. Somebody said when I was reading about this, her therapist was like, Candy Crush doesn't cure anxiety, it postpones anxiety. And to some degree, I think that touching the wall does not cure anxiety, it postpones anxiety. It is also, I think, a barometer of how anxious I am feeling. And so what is important is not to be like, this isn't real, it's not a real thing, therefore I don't have to look at it. It's much more, what is causing these behaviors to ramp up this week? And using it as kind of a temperature taking device. And similarly, I mean, we talk about this behaviors communication, even to yourself. We talk about it with kids, that coming home and slamming doors and you're all so dumb. Oh, you have that test and you're worried about it. Or you have a friend group at school that is cutting you off. That the more you can really understand what's being communicated through the behavior is where the usefulness comes in, because you can't really attack the behavior. And so the touching for me with the OCD does not make me less anxious. It's a manifestation of anxiety. That's a really different mindset for me. It's not curing anything. It's the way that my body expresses anxiety, in the same way that it might be nail biting for someone else, or it might be yelling at their spouse for someone else, or it might be compulsive shopping or whatever kind of behaviors. So in thinking about anxiety with moms, especially. It's interesting because so much of the research and writing is about what they call PMADS, perinatal mood and anxiety disorders. So those are mood and anxiety disorders that are extremely related to childbirth.
And I imagine it's driven a lot by the hormonal, the intense changes that happen, right? It isn't just because childbirth was hard, although it is, and that's part of it. It's not the only part of it.
No. It's a combination of factors, and the fact that, I mean, people joke about it and laugh about it and reference it all the time, but I remember walking home with that baby the first time and just being like, wait, what? Who's going to help me figure this out? This seems like an insane task. Taking care of a human, this seems insane to me. Although I was at the time 36 years old and like fairly well prepared to take care of a child, it still seemed unbelievably overwhelming. And then your hormones are flushing out. And then you've had an incredible bodily trauma that has happened to you. And there's just so many factors that go into how massively your life changes when you give birth.
And you're supposed to be feeling wonderful, and everybody around you is participating in this idea that only mommy knows how to do the things, and you've become uniquely gifted with the ability to get up with the baby, stay up with the baby, know what's supposed to happen next, even though that's not really true.
Another one of these perinatal mood and anxiety disorders is postpartum obsessive compulsive disorder. And all of these disorders, if you have been diagnosed with them previously, they can come back with childbirth, which is really interesting. So postpartum bipolar is another version of that. It can onset with childbirth, or you can have been diagnosed with it previously and you have, what is that called? It's like it comes out of remission. You have a recurrence.
Reactivated.
Yeah, it gets reactivated. Exactly. Postpartum PTSD, which I hadn't really thought about, which is about 9% of new mothers meet American Psychiatric Association criteria for PTSD. This may involve suffering flashbacks and disturbing memories, either about delivery, birth, and people do underestimate the trauma of giving birth, and people who have, you go in thinking, well, I've done all these labor classes, and then you end up having an emergency C-section or something. You know, it can be a very traumatic experience. It can also trigger previous traumas. So PTSD activated by childbirth. Postpartum anxiety, I'm raising my hand, postpartum anxiety and postpartum OCD. Unfounded fears or extreme worries may characterize a case of pregnancy or postpartum anxiety. As many as 1 in 5 new mothers may experience perinatal anxiety and panic attacks. I'm surprised it's 1 in 5. For me, it was 1 in 1. And then postpartum psychosis, it's a much more rare condition, 1 or 2 in 1,000 women. And this is serious and requires immediate diagnosis and treatment. And so those are just perinatal, just related to childbirth.
Childbirth and the first trimester and what's continuing to happen, right? Because that first year,
up to a year after birth.
Changing.
That's right. It's up to a year after birth. And that's worth putting a note next to, that you can feel fine for the first 6 months after birth and then still get postpartum depression or postpartum anxiety or postpartum bipolar, or any of these conditions can appear later on. And so the good news is you're often going on doctor's visits. You're often interacting with medical professionals during this time. So the more you know about what these problems are, the more, you have opportunities to interact with medical professionals, which is good.
Well, usually the baby's medical professionals, but they are getting better at realizing that they need to be asking the mother questions too about how she's doing.
I will say my pediatrician was excellent about that, because mom's health is baby's health, and they were excellent about like, how are you feeling? I will say at the time for me, it was so focused on postpartum depression that I would have benefited from someone saying, are you feeling more nervous than normal? And I think I would have said, yes, but also I have a tiny, fragile human. Of course I am. I did not make a distinction at the time that being so anxious was unusual. And then I also had the problem that I was constantly pregnant. And so when I had my worst bout of anxiety and I was pregnant with my third, I did go to see a psychiatrist who was like, well, there's not much we can do because you're pregnant, which did not make things easier. That has also changed. Some of the medications they've done more testing on and they feel more comfortable. But yeah, I mean, I was basically pregnant for 4 years straight, and it didn't go amazing for my mental health. Let's talk about some symptoms that you may see of anxiety.
Okay. Not just perinatal anxiety either, but just sort of anxiety in general.
Correct. Probably maybe more pronounced in the perinatal period, but intrusive thoughts. This is something that, do you know what an intrusive thought is?
I sure do. And I think it's important for this list. I'm thinking the word anxious or the word nervous or the word worried might not be something that you identify with. And these things, as you like to say, they're morally neutral. These are neither good nor bad, but if they're happening to you, they're worth looking at. Right? It isn't like if you get 3, you're anxious. It's like if any of these ring true for you, you don't have to always feel that way.
And every single one of them is a 1 to 10, right? There is no one on earth who's never had an intrusive thought. What if my husband is having an affair? That just pops into your head. It happens. But intrusive thoughts, unwanted graphic what if scenarios popping into your brain out of nowhere. Very common, but very upsetting. I had a lot of problems with intrusive thoughts when I was so anxious. Scenes from movies coming back to me, things people said, just intrusive thoughts is the perfect way to say it. You're in the middle of doing something else and suddenly you're thinking about a horrible and awful scenario. And this tends to be how my anxiety manifests. How my anxiety does not manifest, Amy. Perfectionism, another symptom.
Yeah. Perfectionism. You know deep down that good enough is fine, but you're still obsessing about things. Again, if you're obsessing about things, it's because your phone is telling you to. It's because the pediatrician is telling you to and your mother-in-law is telling you to. It's hard to carve out what part of this is stuff that you're being told to worry about from stuff that you're worrying about and what you do need to worry about versus what you don't. But if you're worrying about everything all the time, you shouldn't have to feel that way.
I'm going to lay a little Christy Martin, my sister-in-law's wisdom on you. It's not a problem unless it's a problem for you. And so you talk about this in Happy to Help. We've talked about it on the podcast. If your set point is, I love my laundry room to look just so with like the shiplap and the labels on everything and the containers just so, that brings me joy and I like doing it, totally fine. If I cannot go to sleep at night and I'm losing hours of sleep because I cannot sleep until every single thing is in its right place in my apartment, that might be something worth looking at. Is it a problem for you? And some of these, you might just need to move from a 9 to a 6, or a 6 to a 3 in terms of where you are on the spectrum. I will always live with intrusive thoughts, but I want to keep them like a 3 or under. And when I find they're a 9, I need to do something about it.
Hypervigilance is another way this can rear its head, that your brain is scanning for danger even in safe situations, like the toddler on the slide, like, be careful, like that kind of hovering over the immediate danger latent everywhere, even if it's a butter knife instead of a, bread knife. Everything seems dangerous all the time.
We talked to Tiffany Jenkins from Juggling the Jenkins about this, and she was talking about that her anxiety got to a point where she was having trouble just going on a walk. She would just be like, well, there's water over there, and there's this, and life is inherently dangerous in some ways, but as I have all sorts of scenarios in my life where like, okay, my kid's getting on the train to go to New York City by themselves. It's fine to be like, okay, does he have a phone? What if he gets lost? Let me make sure he knows that if a weirdo comes up to you, go into a store, like finding solutions to possible problems. But if it's becoming to the point where every situation is unpleasant because the only thing you're able to do is just scan in terms of like, oh my gosh, I can't let the kids go to the park because there's water nearby and someone might jump in the water, that's when you're too far on the 1 to 10 scale.
And then there's these physical symptoms, which can happen, which this gets confusing too. You can have a racing heart because you have anxiety, or you can have anxiety because you have an elevated heart rate. That your mind and your brain work together. If your fight or flight nervous system is activated for health reasons, it will make you feel anxious because your brain is going to be like, I don't know why my heart is racing like this, but there must be a bear around here somewhere. And so it can feed on itself.
It's crazily true. My mom had a lung disease before she died. And one of the things was shortness of breath. It was causing her to like pull for breath. And then her system was constantly aggravated as if she was being chased by a bear because her physiology was telling her these are the symptoms of danger but really it was just a physical symptom. And so That's really true. It can become a kind of a cycle that you have trouble getting out of.
It can be a real cycle, and it can get too simplistic, which it's when like you would stop having migraines if you just stopped worrying so much. Well, maybe you feel anxious because you have migraines all the time, and that's a terrible way to live without control over how you feel from day to day.
Yeah.
In other words, sometimes the pain could be causing the anxiety. Sometimes the anxiety can be causing the pain, but don't just accept a pat on the head and you need to relax, little lady, as the only explanation for your stomach aches.
No, and these are things that have causes and cures, which is the good news. A couple of other symptoms before we break: irritability. So like anxiety disguising itself as anger. And that's something that I see all the time in my kids, and I have sometimes trouble seeing it in myself, that you think I'm just irritable.
Right. Well, you're
Anxiety
making me mad.
can
Right?
turn into a lot of other things. Yeah. Sleep struggles. This is a huge symptom for me. I got into a point, I called it sleep panic at the time, where like I couldn't sleep at night. And then my husband sweetly would try to take the kids out and be like, well, now you can rest. And then I would feel like, well, if I don't rest now, all is lost. And then I couldn't sleep. And I got into some really bad insomnia places. So sleep struggles. Decision fatigue, your brain permanently stuck in overdrive so that small choices start to feel really overwhelming. And then avoidance. Small tasks like doctor's appointments, writing emails, you can't do them. I call this world's most anxious. There used to be a cartoon called World's Angriest Dog, and it was just a dog that was so angry it had to sit still all the time. And I'm like, world's most anxious mom. Sometimes I'm like, I am so anxious and there's so much to do that the only thing I could do is sit on the couch and watch Real Housewives recaps.
Yeah. It's rough.
It's rough out there, but we're
It's
coming
rough
back
out
with
there.
solutions. We're going to solve anxiety.
Amy, when I'm having a good hair day, it usually makes my whole day better. And that's why on every day, I'm taking Nutrafol.
Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand. And it's the #1 hair growth supplement brand personally used by dermatologists. Nutrafol's hair growth supplements are peer-reviewed, NSF certified for sport, and clinically tested.
Nutrafol offers multiple formulas for men and women tailored to different life stages and lifestyle factors, so you get support that's actually right for you. Adding Nutrafol to your daily routine is easy. Order online, no prescription needed, with automated deliveries and free shipping to keep you on track.
Let your hair be one less thing to worry about. See visibly thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair in 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol.
For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you visit Nutrafol.com and enter promo code LAUGHING.
That's Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code LAUGHING.
All my kids learned to swim when they were little. It was super important to me that they be confident and safe in the water. There was only one problem with that: taking them to swim lessons. I mean, the pools were freezing. There were always cranky adults doing laps right there. And it was definitely not, for any of us, what you would call fun.
Amy, heard. But now there's Goldfish Swim School. Goldfish takes a really thoughtful approach to swim lessons, combining research-based teaching with a warm, kid-friendly environment that actually helps kids thrive in the water.
Every detail at Goldfish is thoughtfully designed to create a golden experience, from shiver-free, warm indoor pools to comfy waiting areas for parents to professionally trained lifeguards on deck.
Goldfish uses an approach called the science of swim play, which combines guided play with proven teaching techniques to help kids learn to swim, build water safety skills, and gain confidence, all at their own pace. Lessons are designed to meet kids exactly where they're at.
If you've been thinking about swim lessons or just wondering where to start, this is a great opportunity. Right now, Goldfish Swim School is offering a waived membership plus your child's first lesson free at participating locations.
Just visit goldfishswimschool.com/free to find a location near you and enroll using promo code FREE.
That's goldfishswimschool.com/free, promo code FREE.
Seriously, every Facebook Moms group thread you have ever been on.
Original Mom.
Hey, does anyone know what time Pizza Bingo starts at the rec center tonight?
Comments unhelpfully, Mom.
No idea, but wow, sounds fun.
Obvious suggestion, Mom.
Check for the flyer in your kid's backpack.
Original mom.
Yeah, I lost that, which is why I'm asking.
Weirdly aggressive mom.
Yeah, duh. Do you think she would have posted it if she still had the flyer?
Obvious suggestion mom.
Sorry, geez. Was just trying to help.
Posts on every single thread ever mom.
Hi guys, hope everyone's doing great. We're not gonna make pizza bingo this year. Brownie face.
Disorganized mom.
Wait, is this the same as the showing of Frozen for the kindergartners? My daughter wants to go to that.
Original mom.
Nope, not the same thing.
Weirdly aggressive mom.
Oh my god, that's not until next year.
Permanently panicking mom.
You guys, does the school have a preparedness plan in case of a North Korean invasion? We need to know.
The I totally agree mom.
I totally agree.
The back in my day mom.
Back in my day, we spent our Friday nights kicking a can around in the street, and we loved it.
The listen mom.
Listen, if my kids can't remember when they're due places, they don't go.
Original mom.
Yeah, still looking for a start time if anyone happens to know?
Off topic mom.
You know people who say their kids won't eat pizza? What is that? Children should eat what they're served.
Way off topic mom.
I'm thinking of going gluten-free. Anyone tried it?
Original mom.
Good news, guys. I was able to get a hold of the rec center and confirm that Pizza Bingo is starting at 5:30.
Random inspiration quote mom.
We need to teach the next generation of children from day one that they are responsible for their own lives.
Disorganized mom.
What event was this for?
Okay, Amy, it's time to solve anxiety. Are you ready?
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, I think the headline is going to be, it's the wolf you feed a little bit here. That anxiety is not curable in terms of like, stop worrying. Somebody once said, there's a meme, no one in the history of humanity has ever calmed down by being told to calm down. And I think nobody in the history of humanity has ever cured their anxiety by being told, stop worrying so much.
Right.
Don't worry anymore. That being said, I think that it is a little bit the wolf you feed. That when I'm anxious, let's use COVID as an example. When COVID started, we had no idea what was coming. It seemed really bad. There were scary photos coming out. There was that day where like the NBA shut down and Tom Hanks had it. And it just felt like, wait a minute, is this the beginning of this unbelievable horror show from the movies? And a lot of us took to our phones and just sat and watched the numbers all day, you know? And this is, I don't know, is that the beginning of the term doom scrolling? But giving in this feeling of the elusive control that will solve anxiety is indeed elusive.
Well, in that case, it was, I need to be informed. I need to know what's happening. I think that's playing out now. Like, I need to be well informed so I understand what's happening with the stock market, whatever. But the more informed you are, the more nervous you'll feel.
If it is helpful to you, I think that for myself, it is an elusive form of control. That for me, the calm comes in. What can I control about this situation? What can't I control about this situation? And where am I trying to exert control in ways that are not working and making it worse? So I find a constant hum of news and, oh my God, did you see? And this and that. It is giving me a sense of being informed, but really it is just triggering more and more anxiety for me.
Somebody on Blue Sky just today was talking about how there can be a weird sense of relief when you are an anxious person. When something bad happens, then you drop in. Like, I've been scanning the horizon for meningitis, and now here it is, right? That you can just drop in and get calm. Right. This is a George Orwell quote. It is a feeling of relief, almost of pleasure, of knowing yourself at last, genuinely down and out. You have talked so often of going to the dogs, and here are the dogs, and you have reached them, and you can stand it. It takes off a lot of anxiety. You know,
there's
for a minute.
Movie, an old movie called Fearless about people who survive a plane crash and they become fearless because it's like, okay, the worst thing happened and it didn't get me. And now I'm this like incredibly fearless person. I think like everything, this is how it works for you. I find that my instinct for control works against my feeling of calm for myself. I think there are probably people for whom, and you might be one of them, the more knowledge you have, the better you feel. I find that it's kind of a bottomless quest for knowledge that just is letting in like more possibilities to worry about.
New things I haven't thought of yet.
New things I haven't even thought of. My husband once said to me very calmly when I was perseverating or something, he said, wow, you really do like to worry out every possible option. And I'm like, yeah, that might not be the greatest use of my time.
I mean, reading a lot of news during early COVID, everybody was anxious during COVID if they weren't before, but it might not make you anxious, but if you were somebody who was anxious already, it will make you more anxious, certainly.
Yeah, on the flip side, I also think that it can be double-sided. For me, like true doom scrolling, which is just let me just look at my phone and let every bad thing wash over me, bad. That being said, staring down a problem is often a huge solution for me. So it's like the wolf at the door is so scary. This is what we call making a budget in my house, that no matter how we make a budget, it's not going to work out the way we want it to. It's not going to be like, you're a millionaire, no problems, grab that flight to Fiji. And so my husband and I both have a little bit of an instinct to be like, let's not think about it. And then it starts, my therapist calls this the burbling volcanoes, and then it's just a burbling volcano in the closet that is there and is going to explode at some point. But you're just going to keep walking by it. It's probably better for me to get out a book and write everything down and be like, okay, we're broke, or okay, we're going to make it this month. But just letting things, is there something wrong with this lump on my neck? It feels better to be like, I don't want to know what that lump is. But I would argue that it really feels better to stare that lump down, go to a doctor, find out what it is, and start to find a solution.
Well, the thing about doom scrolling is when people say doom scrolling, I guess it's like there's a lot of bad news, but you're watching it float by. You're not actually engaging with any of it. And if you have 4 or 5 burbling volcanoes in your life, I think that makes you more likely to doom scroll and not deal with any of those, or directly, like I'm not calling my senators. I'm just scrolling on my phone. It's a form of passivity. It's like a false form of control.
Yeah, I mean, there's a huge difference between I'm going to figure out what's going on in my town with the new taxes that are funding the pool because I really care about that, and I'm going to research it and I'm going to go to the meeting. That's different than like, there's this weird thing that's happening to the monkeys in Jakarta, and what does that mean for me in the next 6 months? One is active and knowledge-based, and one is like, I'm just panicking myself for no reason. I'm worrying about everything.
I'm worrying about everything. I think if you worry about one thing and bring it closer, I mean, this is a low stakes thing, but there's something I have to do that feels like I have something that's been hanging over me, like our healthcare claims for the last, 6 months, some of which are going to time out. I haven't been submitting because it feels like a huge job. Of course, it gets bigger the more I ignore it, and I'm avoiding it. And so I have it on my list for today that I'm just going to touch it. Like I'm just going to open a spreadsheet and call it healthcare submissions. Just going to start, just see what happens, because my anxiety has made it huge.
Well, I've talked before. When I ran my first marathon, I bought a book and it was like, how do you run a marathon? And the first step is tell as many people as possible that you're going to run the marathon. Like commit to it. And I think get a meeting with your spouse or a friend and say, hey, I am really avoiding this. My sister has something and they call it the socialist cleaning circle. She and a group of girlfriends, and they go to one person's house once a month and they're like, what's the one thing that you're most embarrassed about in your house that you can't seem to tackle? And the friends just come over and do it. Sleep is medicine for anxiety. And it's hard because the more anxious you are, the harder it is to sleep. But really prioritizing sleep, even if it means, when it was really bad for me, I ended up, even with little kids, I was breastfeeding, I ended up going away for 2 days. And my only goal, I just pulled the blackout curtains and I was like, my only goal is to sleep. And if I had 48 hours, I could maybe sleep for 6 and then wake up. But I just laid in bed in the dark. That was the only goal, was sleep. And I think that sleep is the antidote to terror, and terror makes sleep harder. But I'm not like, prioritize sleep, like prioritize self-care. Really, you may have to take pretty extreme measures, but if you're not realizing how important sleep is, it's that important.
Well, add an hour of sleep sounds like, well, I can't help it. I lie down and I lie in the dark. So add an hour of sleep really means stop that glass of wine that's going to wake you up 2 hours after you go to sleep, right, for a while. Or
keep the phone out of the bed.
Keep the phone out of the bed, or go to bed an hour sooner. Those are the things you can control, and those will eventually lead to more sleep. But just like screw those eyes shut tighter and do a better job of sleeping. That feels hard. Yeah.
Mindfulness and exercise.
Okay.
Both. I know. We hate it. We hate to say it. We hate for it to be true. We hate this for us, frankly. But I'm not a good meditator. Meditation and anxiety, they exist at opposite spectrums, but it does help.
It does help. And I've talked to a doctor about this, because if you are anxious and you start to meditate, you will almost immediately engage with your own anxiety. Like, there it is, right? It's right below the surface.
It's like, hi, friend.
Yeah. Yes, that is what will happen. You're not crazy. What you need to keep doing is you need to do it every day for 60 days. And that's the hard part. But after that 60 days of practice, and do as I say, not as I do, but after that 60 days of daily practice, then that sort of mind shaft to greater calm is available to you. But your anxiety is first going to be like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Your anxiety wants to win.
Yeah, your anxiety goes against all of these instincts. Connecting with friends. It doesn't sound appealing when you're anxious. Physical touch. And this is something that I've had to work on. When I call it wet cat syndrome, when I get anxious, I tend to be like, everyone stay away from me. I'm like a porcupine. But sometimes when I'm really losing control, I find that if I just lay down with my husband and like kind of hug, and believe me, you have to make a disclaimer beforehand that's like, this is just hugging. But it is very calming to your nervous system, the way you put like a fussy baby on your chest. And you can do this with a friend. You can do this with a sibling.
Or a child,
just
sure, yeah.
Sitting, yeah. Sometimes just even putting one of my really big kids on my lap and just whatever it is, like it goes against your instincts. That's why anxiety is very devious. And then this is so simple, but it is one of the most important things. Go outside. And when I have been in this mode myself or had friends suffering from truly, truly debilitating depression, step 1, 10 minutes a day with your face in the sun. That's all it is. You don't have to walk. You don't have to move. If it's cold, just go to a window. But for 10 minutes, just sit with your face in the sunshine, not looking at your phone while you do it, just letting sun hit your face. It makes a difference in how you're feeling. There's this whole like crazy movement now called grounding. Do you know about grounding?
Sure. You just go outside you need grass, right? And bare feet and
Well, that's like...
You touch grass.
But now they sell these weird cables that like attach to the grass. And then if you touch that cable, it's the same as going outside. I think... Literally, sometimes when I was most anxious, we had this like crappy little yard that was like something out of a horror movie with patchy grass. But just going outside, I don't let the grass touch me because, as we've discussed, I don't let nature touch me. Putting down a blanket and just laying on the earth, there is something very calming about it.
I agree. I mean, I live in New York City, but we have access to parks and you have to be more intentional about it.
Yeah, you got to like walk to go find the grass. Don't lay in the middle of Fifth Avenue. That's not good for you.
No, exactly. Yes, you have to be more intentional, but then when you get there's waterfalls and owls and incredible beauty too. So, but yeah, you have to be intentional about doing it.
That owl got hit by a taxi, Amy. I'm sorry.
I know. What was his name? Flacco.
But there's still waterfalls.
Flacco. I'm not the same.
Flacco.
I'm not the same post Flacco.
Oh, nor should you be. So, of course, we are not doctors. We are not mental health professionals. We're just people who've had anxiety, dealt with anxiety. If you are struggling with anxiety, please talk to a medical health professional. Do not substitute anything we've said today for actual medical advice because we're two kind of dopey comics. We are not medical professionals.
Right. But I hope that at least we've helped you understand that this isn't non-optional. This isn't how it is. This isn't a mother's worries are ceaseless and this is just how it is now. If your life isn't how you want it to be, then you can ask for more help, whether it's actual or emotional support or whatever it is.
Well said, Amy. Solved it. And we're going to ask you for help.
Yeah.
Would you go to our Instagram and follow us?
We're What Fresh Hell Cast on Instagram. We've been really growing recently and we've been kind of leaning into it. We've started a broadcast channel called Our Favorite Hellions. So you can join Our Favorite Hellions. Doesn't cost you anything. And we'll put like little voice memos in there. We recently put up a teaser. Happy to Help was suddenly available on Kindle for $1.99.
You would have missed out.
And did you miss it? You wouldn't have missed it if you were a favorite Hellion on Instagram. Yeah.
People just do it.
Instagram.com/WhatFreshHellCast.
And with that, thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next time.
So long.
Stitch Fix. Shopping is hard. Let's talk about it.
I don't have time to shop for clothes.
I have to buy everything in 3 sizes to find one that fits. They know me at the post office.
Workout wear is my only wear.
Stitch Fix makes shopping easy. Just show your size, style, and budget, and your stylist sends personalized looks right to your door. No subscription required, plus free shipping and returns.
Oh, wow, that was easy.
Stitch Fix, online personal styling for everyone. Take your style quiz today at stitchfix.com.